Hey, come on in, everybody. It's Facebook Live at 5. Welcome to all of our Facebook friends, all of our teachers, all of our principals, especially our principals on the come up. So tonight what we're going to be talking about is returning after unscheduled school closure. That's right. Now, I know many of you, especially those who are on the southeast coast, those who were affected by Hurricane Laura and Hurricane Marco, you've had to do your evacuations. Your school year is just getting started. You're having to go through remote learning, and you went through that process, and now you have an unscheduled school closure. For some places, you've already had the unscheduled school closure because somebody contracted the coronavirus. And that's something that you did not have planned before. You didn't have a plan for it, but it happened. It was unscheduled. Hi, my name is Dr. Barbara Polk. I am known as a turnaround principal. I am a graduate of the Harvard Graduate School of Education, where we studied low-performing schools. And I have turned around several elementary schools, low-performing middle schools, and high schools. I was chosen by the Texas Education Agency to go into low-performing schools and turn them around. And I am the principal of a couple of low-performing schools. My last school, which is one of the lowest-performing schools in my state, we turned that school around in a year. And I did say we turned that school around in a year, and it never returned to low-performing while I was principal at that school. So tonight, what we're going to be talking about is 3 questions that we want to discuss. And the first is, what did you learn about if this was your first week or your second week or whatever time frame it was before you returned to school, before you had to leave school through an unscheduled departure? What did you learn during that first week or that second week? What did you learn? What did your teachers learn that they shared with you? What did your leadership team share with you? The second is, have you been in touch with your leadership team? Or how did you get in touch with your leadership team? How are you getting in touch with your teachers? How are you getting in touch with your parents? They deserve to know. Now, lots of times we leave that responsibility, if you're in a larger school district, you leave that responsibility up to the local administration for them to contact parents, for them to use their social media. But what about you? What are you doing to contact your teachers, keeping your teachers informed about what's going on, and especially what's intimately going on at your particular school? And the last thing and the most important thing is, how are you handling your personal issues? Even though you are the principal of the school, you still have your personal issues. And usually, if you are the principal of a low-performing school, you are the person in your family that people look up to. They look up to you for direction. They look to you for guidance, simply because, of your position. And you have your own issues that you're dealing with as a principal. You have family, you have friends, you have parents or aunts or uncles that you're responsible for. And when you have a situation like a hurricane or a situation like COVID-19, sometimes the people that you depend on to assist you are not available. So that means that you are not only having to make sure that your school is being taken care of, but you also have the concern or the responsibility of your family member or family members that you have to take care of. So how are you taking care of those issues? So let's review the first week or the first days of school. We're going to relook at your management plan. Even though school has just been in for a short period of time, there's a plan that you had in place. And now you have time to look at that plan to see if that plan was actually working. or if you need to make some changes to that plan based upon the information from your leadership team. And when I say leadership team, I'm not only talking about your principal, assistants, your counselors, and other people who are a higher level, within the school hierarchy. I'm talking about your teachers. I'm talking about your paraprofessionals. How is that going? What about the class norms? You established class norms. You had teachers to establish class norms. Were those class norms in place? Or did teachers have one thing in mind for class norms and then something else happened? I was in conversation with principals and teachers, and they're saying that usually with your elementary and your middle school, everything was, pretty much, going okay, except for the usual conflict you have with technology, or with your lower grades, your kindergarten and your first grade. You'll have parents there standing beside the kid, helping the kid with an answer while they were on their Zoom class in the morning. But in talking to some of your high school teachers, that's where some of your no challenges or some of your real challenges took place. You have, your high school kids who can figure out a way to work the technology where you think they're in the room, they're actually not in the room. You've had to put some of your kids who were not complying with the directions. You have to put them in the waiting room. You have to talk to them. You have to actually get them to help you with the remote learning. And when that happens, especially with your high school students, to get them to help you with the remote learning, or to help your teachers get assistance with remote learning, that is actually a relationship builder. So that's something that that you need to be aware of. And what about the lessons? What about the student lessons? We did have an opportunity for us. I mean, we look at an unscheduled closure as something that's, terrible, something that just doesn't fit into our plan. But principals take this as an opportunity to give you a chance to reassess how things went, to see how much you learned, to see how much you need to change, and look at the lessons and think about the plans that the teachers had and whether those plans were actually working. Now, in lots of places where there was remote learning, sometimes there was problems with technology, and some of the kids that actually did not get a teacher live, and hopefully they were able to get the recording or the asynchronous lesson being taught to the students. But then you have to make sure that the students know how to go to that asynchronous assignment to get that review, and also for parents. And here's something that you need to start thinking about, principals, as you work with your teachers, and that is grading. Now, we all think about grading in a traditional way. We think about grading in the traditional way where we pass out assignments, we pass out our syllabus, and we have on our syllabus a group activity and a date and rubrics for when the assignment is to be turned in. And have we been able to transfer that into our online learning? Have we been able to look at our grading in a non-traditional way, especially with our little ones? Because with the younger kids, the elementary kids and the middle school kids, lots of times you have parents or family friends who are trying to assist with the remote learning. And I have actually heard, especially with the little ones, the grandparents or the aunts or the uncle pretty much saying, I don't know, how to do this. I don't, they're doing this work at home. I don't know, how to take a picture of it. I don't even know how to use an iPhone to get that information to you. So that's something that we, may not have considered, principals, as you were working with your teachers, and something needs to be put in place to be able to handle those kinds of situations, because those children may actually be doing the assignment at home, but you don't have any evidence that that assignment is done, because everything is being done remotely. I've even heard of stories where parents or guardians or grandparents have actually gone to the school with the device saying, please help me. I don't know what I'm doing. I want to do my best to help my grandchild or my niece or nephew, or someplace where I'm the guardian. I just don't know what to do. So as a principal, let's think about that. Let's use this time where you are off at an unscheduled time, and see if you need to do a check-in, or your teachers need to do check-ins with their children's parents and guardians. And something else that you need to consider, when we returned back from the COVID-19, and we had all of our protocols in place, we made sure that we did have things in place for those teachers who could not return. And we tried to make sure that if a substitute was needed, then a substitute was there. So now that you may have, you're either out for COVID-19. Hey, Denise, good to see you. I like your new look. Do we have things in place to handle those teachers who are out either for a hurricane, or they're out because of COVID-19? Do we have anything in place to make sure that when you do return to school, that those students actually have somebody who they can work with during that time? Remember, we said that, these are trying times, and these are times like we've never, ever experienced before. But we are going to make this. We're going to take all of these situations, and we're going to look at the glass half full and not half empty. We're going to use this time as a growing time, as a learning time. Many of the school districts are out now due to hurricanes. Some are out due to a COVID virus epidemic. And we just principals, you just can't sit around and just wait for your administrator to give you direction on what you need to do. Of course, take care of yourself. Take care of your family. Take care of your personal needs. But you are the leader of that school. And when teachers return, when students return back to remote learning, even if they're returning back face to face, the teachers are going to be looking to you for direction. What do we do now? And these are the times for you to think about the things that I have already planned, and to see how we can modify those things. I've heard principals saying that they didn't like, during that first week or that second week, they didn't like walking down the hallways, interrupting their teachers, because their teachers felt uneasy. And most of their observations were done remotely. But remember, this is something that is new. And make sure that you are creating an environment, principals, that are not intrusive, but at the same time, knowing that you can physically go into classrooms. And this is something too that you need to talk with your leadership team and come up with a plan that's going to fit that observation mode. And needless to say, principals, there is going to come a time, and it's going to be a time real soon, where you will have to do observations. These times that we are in our remote learning, these are actually times of evaluations. These are times where everybody is going to be evaluated, whether we are prepared or not prepared, there's still an evaluation process. That is just a part of our learning. And remember, with our evaluation process just talks about where we are now and what we can do differently in order to improve. And I think during these times of COVID and during these times of unscheduled closures of schools, this is a new time, a baseline observation. We even have to look at the way we are doing our classroom management, the way we are addressing those students who are having issues already in the classroom. Think about things that we can do to develop relationships with these students right now. You just cannot teach the same way you did with the face-to-face, teaching it remotely. You just can't. You're going to have to get with your team, principals, get with your teams, and develop ways so that you can evaluate. And let's start with, a gallery walk. Principals, let's think a learning walk. A learning walk is simply an opportunity for you to see what is going on in the classrooms besides just looking at it virtually. And then coming back, giving a response or giving information as to what you experienced if you were a student, what you learned when you saw other teachers teaching. You may not want to do a physical gallery walk or a physical learning walk. You may want to do a virtual learning walk. And then come up with some ways and some things that you learned with that gallery walk or with that learning walk to improve. Remember, your gallery walk and your learning walk is not a gotcha. It's an opportunity for growth. It's an opportunity for growth. Back in the day when we started our gallery walks and started asking teachers, let us video your instruction. We got the biggest resistance from teachers back in the day because they just did not feel secure enough to be videoed. Well, here we are now, and we have this opportunity for you to look at yourself, for you to look at other teachers as they do their instruction. And when we talk about student-centered learning, oh my goodness, what is better than this? This is truly student-centered learning, where a parent can walk into his or her child's room and stand there and just listen to instruction. They don't necessarily have to participate. As a matter of fact, most of the classroom norms ask the parents not to participate. They want the parents there, for support principles, but they're asking, as far as their classroom norms, not to have parents participating. But what a wonderful opportunity for student-centered learning to be in place. Hey, Felicia, good to see you. This is an opportunity for our true student-centered learning. So principals, let's think about this unscheduled school closing. For some of you, this is the first time you've had your unscheduled school closing. And for some of you, you may have had an unscheduled school closing before. But this is an opportunity. Don't see it as something that's down. Not true enough. We really, really feel compassion and hurt for those families who have been misplaced, for those students who have been misplaced, for those students who are trying to get started back to school. And here you have either a virus or you have a hurricane to misplace these kids. These kids are hurting. These kids are really, really experiencing a learning gap. They are experiencing a slide. They are experiencing everything that's negative that's going to keep them from learning all the things that they should learn. Now, please believe me, they are learning life lessons. And that is not anything that we can teach in a book. But there are also standards of learning that we have to make sure that our children are receiving. And when we have situations like this, it just puts a stop and a halt to it for many of our children, especially our children who are in poverty and our children who are, hey Tanja, and especially for those children, our children of color, and our children who have learning in other languages. This is a challenge. This is a challenge for them. So you principals, along with your teachers, your leadership team, you have an opportunity now to come together and reevaluate what you did at the beginning of the school year. For some of you, you may have found out that what we did, what we had in place was excellent, and we're doing a bang-up job. But you know, the best plan can be improved. Remember, we're shooting for 100. Your best plan can be improved. We're looking for students who didn't show up. How about that? We're looking for kids who didn't show up at the beginning of the school year. We have students in some areas who don't even have devices if the school started with remote learning. Do you have plans for that, principal? Have you talked to your team about that? When you actually get to face, what do you have plans for, principals, to bridge that gap? What do you have plans for? As I taught you before, we need to start thinking now with the end in mind. We need to start thinking about looking at your budgets right now. Do we have something planned for the end of the school year? Do you have things set aside in your budget? Or have you made a request in your budget right now for some type of extended learning? I'm talking about quality extended learning. Have you thought about that? You know, we get so involved with the day-to-day events of the remote learning. We are so involved with our technology. We are so involved with the disease, and please believe me, the disease is real. COVID-19 is real. But the bottom line is we have our futures in the form of our children who we need to educate, who we need to build our community. In spite of everything, that's our job, principals. That's our job. Is it a big job? Oh, yes, you betcha it is. Can you do it, principal? I know you can. And remember what I've always taught you, that if you are the principal of that school, they put you there to solve problems. They put you there to solve problems. You proved to them, or you told them, or you showed them that you were the person who could solve problems. And as a principal, that is your job. You are the leader. And leaders do what? Leaders solve problems. So as we bring our channel lesson to a close today, let's look at this opportunity where you have an unscheduled school closure. Let's look at it as an opportunity. Let's look at it as an opportunity for us to relook and redo and try to get, if you are remote learning, let's try to get this right. Let's try to find out what we are learning from our children. Hey, Frida, glad to see you. Let's find out from our children when they return about their experiences. Let's find out from them. Because remember, they are the ones that's experiencing all of this. Principals, talk to your teachers. Listen to your teachers. Listen to your leadership team. And remember, I've always taught you that 10 good teachers are better than 100 spectators. You know the people who are on your team who you can listen to. Look at your management plans. Look at your lesson plans. Look at your plans for discipline. Find out from your teachers what they were doing, and what can be done. Think about grades, principals. Think about grades. What are you going to do? Hey, Kareem, good to see you. Congratulations on your new assignment. Think about grades. Here we are for lots of school districts who've just opened, and then you have an unscheduled closure. You have problems with your technology. All of your children do not have their devices. What are you going to do when it's time for grades? Think about that. Come up with your plan. And you know, some of you are new principals, and you are depending on your leadership team, your supervisors, to kind of give you some directions. But you know, as new principals, sometimes you know, hey, Rhonda Ford, good to see you. Sometimes you know more, well, most of the time, you know more about what's going on that campus than your supervisors, than your superintendent. And as a matter of fact, if you were placed at that school, that superintendent expects you to run that school. And during this time of COVID, and during this time when nobody has the answers, you have to develop the answer. And is your answer going to be right all the time? No way. You're going to make some mistakes. Some of you will make small mistakes, and some of you are going to make big mistakes. But guess what? Something is better than nothing. And as long as you learn from your mistakes, you're going to be all right. The decisions that you make are not going to be decisions that you're going to make alone. Now, that's the beautiful part of having a team, having a leadership team. So you get all the information from your team, and then you make the final decision, because remember, that final decision is up to you. Because leaders do what? Solve problems. Leaders do what? Leaders solve problems. So as we prepare, and as we, if you're a community of hurricane evacuation, or if you're a community of COVID, and you have to have an unscheduled closure, remember, this is a time for you to sit back, plan, think about what you did before the closure, especially for those schools that had remote learning. Think about what you can do better. Think about those children. Think about those poor children. Think about those children of color. Think about those English language learners. Think about those children who have not even been on the screen for you to say that they were present. There are some places where students have never shown up. What are you going to do about that, principal? Because they're coming. They're going to come when it's time for face-to-face. What are you going to do? Remember, think with the end in mind. You know, I always give you the story of the last school where I was principal. It's called Thomas Jefferson. And Thomas Jefferson, we always had a motto that says, TJ, what's the name of your school? TJ, you know. So I'm saying to you, principals, you are a leader. Leaders do what? Leaders solve problems. Leaders do what? Leaders solve problems. Take care of yourself. Take care of your families. Take care of your personal needs. And then take care of your school, your parents, and your students. Is it a difficult balance? Yes, it is. It's a difficult balance. But guess what? You can do it. You were chosen to do it. And nobody can do it like you. All right, principals on the come up. Go to my Facebook group, Principals on the Come Up, and join if you haven't already joined. Go to my website, barbaraypope.com, and download my story, which gives you a little insight into how it feels being a first-year principal at a low-performing campus. Felicia, TJ, you know, Rhonda, good senior, Kareem, just do the best you can. And I will be back on next Monday, 5 p.m. Central Time, for Principals on the Come Up. Have a good rest of the week. Bye.